Hi, sailors of wind and spirit. And we have a lot of wind today. I'm Noel. I'm the sailing pastor. And today we are on the remote, mostly uninhabited southern Bahamian islands called the Jamintos. The southernmost two islands are called Ragged and Little Ragged. And Ragged Island is the only inhabited island with just over a few dozen residents remaining. But this island is Buena Vista Key, and it was once inhabited by one person, and his name was Edward. He was a legend among cruisers who loved to stop and spend time with him. He'd always greet them at the shore and just out front of his cabin, and they would spend time. He would give them gifts and hospitality, and they would bring him gifts, things that he couldn't get on the island. But it reminds me of another sailor who encountered one person on a shore. Jesus was teaching, and the crowds were so large there by the Sea of Galilee. Jesus asked some of his disciples, who were fishermen and expert sailors, to put him in their boat, shove off from the shore, and that way he could, the sound traveled very well over the water, and also gave him some distance so that people wouldn't crush him. And after a day of teaching, then Jesus got this sudden idea, it seemed, like he had to be somewhere else and he needed to be somewhere quickly. He asked his disciples to hoist the sails right where they were, take off, and cross to the other side. And Peter's like, hey, we haven't checked any weather models. I'm not sure what the Cape Index is for the possibility of convection and thunderstorms. I haven't even checked my charts. I don't even have my passport. That's foreign. The other side is foreign land. Those are Gentile. But Jesus says, hoist the sails. And so they took him as he was and as they were. They sailed off as if they were under some kind of schedule, which is a disaster for sailors. And sure enough, in the middle of the night, the disaster hit. A squall, huge waves swamped their boats, and as they're panicking, they turn and realize that Jesus is still asleep in the back of the boat. They wake him up. Master, don't you care that we're drowned in here? And this is actually your fault, sailing on a schedule? They didn't say that, but that's what they would be thinking. And then Jesus quickly gets up. He rebukes the wind and the waves. There's calm, stillness, and then he says, "You have little faith." Like, don't you know how mighty the love of God is? God can't lose you. God can't drop you. No one can snatch you from God's hands. He didn't say that, but he says, that's what he meant, right? You have little faith. Don't you know the invincibility of the love of God? Well, suffice it to say, by the morn, they make it to the other shore. And there's not a big welcoming party, but there is one person. But this one person isn't a saint like Edward. This one person is literally a real life werewolf. A man so tortured by unclean spirits that the residents have to try to control him, to keep him from harming people, himself. They chain him, hands, feet, put him under guard, and none of that can stop him. in one of his frenzies, he breaks out like the Incredible Hulk, runs off among the tombs, the cemetery, and there he howls and he cuts himself with stones as if he despises himself as much as the people and the demons despise him. Well, but it's this man, this werewolf of a man, who is the welcoming party for Jesus. And immediately the demons begin to speak and cry out, Jesus, don't bother us, right? Leave us alone. And quickly Jesus casts them out, right? He liberates the man. He heals the man. In the process, they enter the pigs. The pigs go crazy like the man. They run off the cliffs into the water and they drowned. The pig herders run back to town. They tell the villagers what has happened, and they all come out. The whole village comes out to see Jesus. And when they come, they find their werewolf of a man seated at the feet of Jesus, with Jesus, and clothed in his right mind. And you think that people would cheer, that they would throw a party for this man, or at least for Jesus, right? Thank you, right? This is our town monster, and you've not only healed him, you've healed our whole community. Instead, they're terrified. It was like they had learned to live with the power, the dark power of this man, and of his demons. But they cannot live with the powerful love of Jesus. And so they beg him, they command him to leave. And you would think that Jesus, after all that travel, right, risking life and limb, right, of his own and the disciples crossing the sea, I guess he knew they were safe, but you would think that Jesus would, and he does sometimes tell people, if you knew who I was, right, if you knew the gift that was being offered to you. But Jesus doesn't argue with him. He's like, I'm good. He gets in the boat and he tells the guys, hoist the sails, we're headed back home. And I can hear Peter mumbling, like, are you serious? We almost drowned, right? We almost lost our boat and our lives to bring this man across the water so that he could rescue one werewolf of a man. Are you serious, Jesus? We did this for one person. We left all of those people, all that crowd that you were ministering to, for one person. I guess Jesus probably just would have nodded and smiled, right? That mischievous grin. Yep. Yeah, we were sailing on schedule. Because one man couldn't live like that any longer. Didn't need to live like that any longer. I wonder, as hard as it was for Peter to comprehend the love of God for this monster, this werewolf of a man, I wonder if we find it just as hard to accept the reckless, unconditional, extravagant love of God for us. Us at our worst, warts and all. Are we able to let Jesus look at us? Are we able to let Jesus smile over us without arguing with him? Like, Lord, no, you don't know what I've done, right? Are we able just to receive the loving gaze of Jesus? To let him cross oceans and mountains or eternity and carry a cross up a hill for just me. The spiritual journey really hinges on that ability to surrender, to allow ourselves to be loved without arguments. To see ourselves in that werewolf of a man, and to see the reckless love of God chasing us down. When Jesus got in the boat, much to the relief of the villagers, there was one person other than Peter, one person protesting. And that was, can I call him Saint Werewolf? That was Saint Werewolf. He was begging Jesus, right? As anyone would, he was begging Jesus to take him with him. And then finally he had found someone that didn't see him as a monster. Someone who looked at him like he had never been looked at before. Someone who had actually seen him. And who wouldn't want to stay in that gaze? And so he begs Jesus, take me with you. But Jesus refuses. Instead, Jesus gives him a command. Go home. Go back to those messy relationships that have harmed you and in which you have done so much harm. Go back there and be a witness of God's love for one person. God's reckless, unconditional, extravagant love for one, for each. And it said the man went home, but not just his home. He went to the Decapolis, throughout the Decapolis, which means 10 cities, telling everyone, showing everyone the reckless love of God, found shining in the face of Jesus. So often we want to serve. I want to be like that. I want to be able to be a witness. But our witness, our ministry starts first in sitting, in meeting Jesus, in encountering Jesus. Not just one time. I find that I have to do it all the time, of learning to live, right? Learning to be still, learning to surrender my objections, and to sit still before the shining face of Jesus, to let Jesus smile over me without me trying to explain why he shouldn't be smiling, but just to receive the reckless, extravagant love of God found in Jesus. Love of God for me. And it's only until I am immersed in that, right, that then I can go and share it with others. So I'll be quiet, and I'll let you have some time to sit here like Edward, alone with Jesus.